How do you maximize your transmission life? I get questions from time to time of people who are watching my YouTube videos on these transmission flushes. They're asking about flushing tranny, and they hear it's bad for the transmission. And I'm going to explain a little bit of both sides of the story on this. In the transmission, when you go to flush it, most of the time, most people are going to take it to either a dealership or like Jiffy Lube or someplace like that to have it flushed. What they have is a machine. It's probably a $3,000 to $5,000 machine that they'll hook up, and they'll do a back flush on your transmission through the cooler lines, and they never get the transmission pan off. And when you do a transmission flush that way, you're asking for trouble. The main reason is that your transmission is made up of gears, metal gears, and then also you have clutch packs, just like what I'm holding in my hand. And the clutch packs, you have friction discs, which is what these here are, and then you have steel plates in between them. And each clutch pack will have anywhere from 3 to maybe 7 or 8 of these, depending on the gear, low gear to high gear. And what happens is you have wear from this clutch material, from the metal plates, and also from the gears in the transmission, the planetary gears themselves. And all that wear debris, it's going to settle out in your pan because the fluid slows down in the transmission pan. And what happens is if you don't drop the pan and get that dirt load out, when you do that back flush that the dealership does in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're going to stir up all that crap in the bottom of that pan. And it's not going to be an issue, you know, it'll pull up through the filter, and most of the filters, in fact some of the filters on the transmissions are nothing more than a screen, like a house screen, a real fine house screen. Some of them will use a media similar to what you have in an engine oil filter, but it's a coarse filter. It's not going to stop the real fine stuff. And they're trying to prevent wear to the pump is what they're trying to do, prevent any big chunks from getting into that pump. So what will happen is the fine clutch material and fine metals that get stirred up from that back flush, from that flush machine, they'll go up through the pump, torque converter, they'll end up coming out to the valve body. Now the valve body, the way that works is you have different flow paths for the fluids. And the transmission is basically a hydraulic unit. You're applying clutches hydraulically. So you're taking that fluid, you're pressurizing it, and you're directing it to where you want to make the gears change. And this is what changes the gears. Okay, it directs the flow of the fluid to the different clutch packs to change your gear from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and on up. And there's spool valves in here. You can kind of see some of them. This is an older one, but these spool valves have very tight tolerances. So you're not going to have a problem with that flush until the fine dirt gets up here to these tight tolerance spool valves. Those spool valves have to move smoothly to direct the flow to the clutch packs to apply. If you get that dirt in these spool valves and they hang up, you're having a bad day. Because what's going to happen is that pressurized fluid won't get to where it needs to go. And that clutch pack is trying to drive, okay, and you don't have enough fluid pressure to keep these clutches engaged tightly. They'll start slipping. When they start slipping, I can show you an example of what happens. I got one here that's burned. You can see the difference here between the two. This one in my right hand here is a brand new one, and this is one here that's been burned, and you can see the clutch material is just about burned off of it. So when you hang up the spool valve, what you're doing is you're creating a lot of friction and heat right here, and you're burning up your clutch pack, and you're going to lose that gear because of that. Okay, so that's the caution I have of using a transmission flush machine. Now, I've got an example here of some of the oils that I've changed. I've been doing it the way I've been doing it for about 20 years. Some of these here are really nasty looking. I mean, you look at them, they look almost like waste oil. And I've got one here as an example. If you look at the bottom, you can see the crap that's settled out of that oil. That was a farm account of mine. I work on his semis, and he brought me this truck. It was a Chevrolet, late 90s Chevrolet, 4L80E transmission in it. And he had probably around 170,000 miles on it. No transmission fluid change at all as far as the oil. Wanted me to do the driveline fluids, so I did flush. First thing I did was pull the pan, clean the magnet, put up a new filter, put it back together, and I'm putting in the brand new Amsoil Synthetic fluid, and then I'm pulling off a cooler line, I'm starting it up, and I'm flushing out what's left in the torque converter on out that cooler line. That gets me about 95 plus% of the old oil out. Okay, this was about probably 8-9 years ago I did this truck. Now he was here with a semi, man, I think it was last fall, and the guy that was picking him up to drop off the semi was driving that old blue Chevy truck. And I asked him, I said, hey, I did that tranny about 8-9 years ago. I said, is that still the original tranny in there? He said, yeah. He said, I've done nothing to it. So you can see when I shake this up, some of that stuff's going to start coming loose, but there was a lot of junk in that transmission fluid. But the main thing is you get that stuff out of the transmission, you get that dirt load out of the transmission so it can't cause damage to the transmission. Now what's tough is the newer transmissions on some of these vehicles, they don't have a pan that you can remove. What they have is they have a unit transmission, and inside the transmission they have a filter, but the only way you can get at it is to remove the transmission and split it in half. That's out of the question. So on those, I tell guys is do a flush more often on those. The thing is, they say that the fluid in a lot of these, you don't have a dipstick on a lot of these new transmissions, they say it's fill for life. And that's true, the life of the fluid. Because once the fluid breaks down, the transmission follows suit thereafter soon. Okay? So if you keep that fluid in good shape, that transmission is going to last significantly longer. So on some of the newer trannies, I can't pull a pan. On those, I'm just going to flush them a little bit more often. But again, if that fluid's getting nasty, it's just a matter of time before that transmission is going to follow suit with that fluid. So, but these are some of the examples, and like I said, some of this stuff looks like waste oil, and I've had excellent results. I haven't had issues. I would hear it from the customers if I did. So, but that kind of covers a lot of ground. The other thing is, the fluid I use is the Amsoil Synthetic. It's a signature series. They got a low viscosity, and they've also got the older formulation for the older vehicles. The fluid is a chemically engineered synthetic, so it'll handle significantly more heat than petroleum-based oil. It also runs cooler than petroleum-based oil by about 20 to 50 degrees. What that means is all the soft parts, and right here are some of the soft parts. The soft parts are your seals inside that transmission. These are the seals that go on the pistons that apply these clutches. Okay, so this is what's sealing the pistons, and that fluid's coming up against that piston to apply the clutches. If these start to get hard and brittle, they'll get cracks in them. Once they get hard and brittle and get cracks in them, they can't hold the pressure, and then eventually you lose enough pressure, you're going to burn up that clutch pack and your tranny's going to go out. Okay, so when you run a transmission fluid that's 20 to 50 degrees cooler, all the soft parts in that transmission last significantly longer. So that's one of the key things with the chemically engineered synthetic is the cooler running temps and also the service life. And I've got a sheet here I want to show you. Here's a spec sheet on the Amsoil Synthetic ATF, the signature series. And first thing I want to show you here is there's two different ones here listed on this page. One is this red one is the older formulation, multi-vehicle synthetic ATF. And then the blue bag here, this one right here is it's a low viscosity, fuel efficient synthetic ATF, and that's what most of your newer transmissions are going to call for. The thing about this chemically engineered synthetic is it reduces the operating temperature of your transmission by 20 to 50 degrees over petroleum-based fluids, and the life of the fluid is significantly longer as well. As you drop that temperature out of that transmission, all the soft parts inside last a whole lot longer. All the seals, all the piston seal rings. As you drop the heat by 20 to 50 degrees, the life of those soft components goes up significantly, and that extends your transmission life. And as an example, we have a taxi fleet, severe service taxi fleet field trial. This was in Las Vegas. What they did is they run the Amsoil for 180,000 miles in the transmission, and they selected the transmission to tear apart and see how everything looked. And what you're seeing here is the synthetic Amsoil, even after 180,000 miles, contained 83% of its original oxidation inhibitors. And you can see the valve body here looks absolutely beautiful. The clutches, again, they're clean, very little signs of wear on them, very good condition. This is the kind of protection in the desert heat of Las Vegas that the Amsoil provides. So one of the best ways to extend the life of your transmission is through the use of that Amsoil Signature Series ATF. As we go down to this next sheet here, it gives you all the specifications, all the ASTM specifications here on the two products. The ATF is the older formulation, the ATL is the low viscosity right here. So as we go to the specifications, here's the applications for the older ATF, and this is just part of them. The rest of it's at the top of the other page. I'll show you that here. Right here is the remainder of the specs for that older ATF. And then right here is the specifications for the low viscosity ATF for most of the newer transmissions. So this gives you all the specifications for that fluid, and it shows you significantly how much better that performs than the regular fluids out there. If you want to extend the life of your automatic transmission, this chemically engineered synthetic signature series Amsoil is the best way to do it. So as far as doing the flush on these transmissions, like I say, this has been doing this for about 20 years. I have had yet to have an issue with it. And again, these are some of my customers' fluids that I've changed. If you want that transmission to last a long time, you use the synthetic, you get smoother shifting, you get longer transmission life, just a lot less hassle in the long run. So I hope that helps to explain a little bit about why I flush and how I flush, and you know, the best way to approach that. So thank you for watching my video. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/c/Donsoil. I'd like to introduce you to Amsoil Synthetic Lubricants. We have the most complete line of synthetic lubricants on the market that offer you greatly reduced wear, extended drain intervals, longer equipment life. You can check that out at my website, donsoil.com. I also have a website for looking up fluid capacities. It's fluidcapacity.com. You can go there and print off the capacity of your engine oil, cooling system, transmission, transfer case, differentials. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/DonSyntheticLubes. Thank you and have a great day.